Oh, okay. So we are live.
We are live now, and my goodness, my goodness. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for being here. Let's just wait. I don't know
Okay.
what, wait for the notification to drop. Here we go. I just got the notification. So, welcome to everyone being here. I see right away the lovely Jane is here.
Okay. Hi.
Jane, the Secret Tarot, a beautiful, 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 beautiful angel. And so, thank you all for being here. Welcome to Minnassa Wellness. Can we chat? My amazing guest today. Oh, my Lord, it's Jamie. Now, Jamie, are you going to send me an email? I mean, I'm looking at me calling her out. She said she's going to send me an email, and I never got it. And then, good morning to Janet P. I just want to welcome all of you and thank you for being here. I am excited to have my guest today, Gertrude. She has an amazing, not past, but amazing foundation of which she stands on. That is part. I know the world's gotten crazy, so I'm still wanting to work with you, Jamie. So that's why I'm giving you a hard time. And so wonderful. So I want to just give you all a short little review of my trip. So, for many of you know, I was in California last week in the San Fernando Valley. I am a Valley girl visiting with my 86-year-old mother for Thanksgiving. I hadn't seen her since I relocated here in 2019, thanks to the pandemic. My mom is doing great. Not her mind is always clear. She remembers all her doctor's appointments, but I just wanted to see and make sure everything is cool in her house. She still travels around. The woman that runs her senior center told me, she said, I don't worry about Miss Johnson. I don't worry about her. I see her all over the valley. I don't worry about her. So it made my heart feel good to know that. And then just, as she's getting older, stuff can happen. So I was glad to see that right on her refrigerator, it has me and my daughter contact in case of emergency and all these beautiful things. I had a beautiful dream in which we were both present at the bedside of someone you know. Okay. Is that for me, Jamie? But it was just very, very wonderful. We traveled around on the bus. The senior center took us to a really nice restaurant. We had a beautiful Thanksgiving. And so I was very glad because I was, the holidays, like I get on all these people's shows and like, oh my God, the holidays are horrible and I don't like the holidays. And I'm just like, okay, I must be the only one. I love the holidays. Thanksgiving and Christmas were always wonderful times in my household. And so for my mom to be by herself during those holidays had me concerned, but the senior center has her all well taken care of. And so um, don't forget, I'm looking right now to, yeah, oh, so Jamie, I'm very interested. So don't forget to hit the thumbs up because I never say that. And so I want to say that now. And I want to just again greet, let me make sure. Just want to thank Jane the Secret Tarot, Wandering Mountain Bardic Path, which is the amazing Jamie. And then Janet P. Thank you all for being here. And then, of course, I want to thank all of you who watch later. So each one of you who watches after the fact, please hit the thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe to my amazing channel and to Gertrude's channel, her information is in the thing below. You can go to her link and subscribe to her channel. And then also remember to hit the notification bell so that you get the notifications, and the same for my page. So I want to take a few minutes again to say thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you for holding space and allowing, it was so scary for me to not do my show for a week. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to do my show and no one's going to not. And I thought, okay, I got to let that go. I've got to do what's best for me, which is to chill hard and spend time with my mom. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Of course, I went and had Mexican food there and I had some
Oh,
El Pollo Loco. And I was trying to think about how I could bring back some pan dulce, which is sweetbread from the Mexican stores. But we've got some Mexican stores here. So I'm going to try to work that out here. And so I've been rambling. Let's just all take a deep breath in and out. And let me just again extend my heart of gratitude to all of you who are here, to those of you who will see this later, and of course to welcome my amazing guest, Gertrude. And yes, this is Jamie is right on target.
I,
Gertrude's background.
yeah, I wanted something magical, so I searched hard for it, and I like, the feel of it.
So it is very good. So Gertrude, before we get started in your story, how about if you introduce yourself? My last show with Tony, I got so excited, like at 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even introduce her. So let me begin at the beginning. Gertrude, I'm going to invite you to introduce yourself and to talk about your channel.
Okay. So I'm Gertrude, and I come from the island of Borneo, actually. Right from the island of Borneo. East Malaysia, Sarawak is on the island of Borneo. And I grew up there in a little village until I was 12. I have always been interested in people's childhood. I think mainly because of my own. I always believe that childhood forms a big part in a person's life. So I was there, and then we moved to a bigger city. I was there until at the age of 17, I entered a monastery. Nobody could stop me. I just knew I had to enter the monastery. Looking back, it was interesting. I just wanted to be in the world and yet not of the world. I wanted to be taken from it. And I believe that in the silence and solitude of an enclosed monastery, I will be in the world and yet not in the world. So I was there until I was I was there for 11 years. And then um, my body was telling me, my mind, my spirit, my body was telling me it wasn't for me. So I left. And when I left, I really wasn't trained for anything but meditation. And I didn't want to be a burden on my parents. They thought that they had me taken care of, and then they suddenly have an adult daughter coming back, and it wasn't comfortable for them. Apart from the shame of having a daughter they were so proud of in the monastery and then leaving, for them that is like a failure and a disgrace.
Mm.
But not for me, because I was I always felt it was an achievement. I was a nun for an enclosed nun for 11 years. So a friend of mine gave me a photo and address of my late husband. We corresponded, and then he suggested I come over. So I just got a tourist visa and came here, and that was 1986. So I came here, and so fast forward to 2 years ago, I was, because of my life as a nun, entering into contemplative prayer. It awakened the psychic part of me. So I have always been interested in the psychic world. And one day I got on YouTube during the time of Trump. I got on YouTube looking for psychic readers, and I came across Diane's tarot. And from there, I started having sessions with this ET from Ra Collective Rahasha. And a few months into it, Rahasha suggested that I channel him. So I seriously applied myself to it for over a year. And a month ago, I actually started channeling him. Although according to him, I was already hearing him.
Mm.
But it's like the interesting way how I come to contact Minnassa. So I woke up from
Yes.
around 3 a.m. and then I saw her very clearly in my mind. But the striking thing was her eyes. And this voice told me her eyes are very sharp. They miss nothing, but very kind also. And then, so and you will be very safe with her.
mm, mm,
So I knew I could sleep again. So I got up and emailed Minnassa telling her exactly what my dream said. And as I was writing, I can't remember the exact words, but I could hear very clearly. I thank her for her service to the community.
mm.
Later, Minasa, when I look up your website, I understood why the line came in. And so I thought to myself, Minasa, when she received, a crazy email like this, she either would read it, coming from the spirit, or, but I knew you would read it, like coming from the spirit. So here I am.
Indeed, indeed. So, I will tell you, I was so shocked. I'm not that I'm chasing my guests, but I invite people. So when you were like, "Can I be on your show?" and you told me your vision, I was like, "Of course." I was honored. I was like, "Wow, someone wants to be on my show. How amazing!" And that, yes, you told me that you saw me. So that meant we were already and have probably been interacting at a different level, just
Ah,
not hadn't connected here. So we were doing things at a different dimension, and now we're doing them here. And then I had no idea about your story. So I want to welcome Divinely Guided. Thank you for being here this morning. Good morning. And just so I want and it's very interesting because Gertrude really got me thinking about the power of mysticism and contemplation. When she told me that she was a nun, I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? But that is just so my background, as many of you know, is that I'm an ordained minister. And so I went to a traditional Methodist church, but I got involved later in a Pentecostal church. And so that is about being open to the spirit, allowing energies to speak through you, believing in healing. So again, but part of that is without them realizing that you've got to spend time in the quiet. You've got to spend time to connect. So it's called your quiet time. Hey, hey, good morning, sweet pea. Good morning. And so so it's like right up my alley for mindfulness. But so I am so interested, and excuse my ignorance, Gertrude, but where you're from in Malaysia or Borneo, is Catholicism the native religion? Is that the I can't how did you I understand how someone here in the US would be like, oh, I'm going to become a nun because they grew up as a Catholic. But is that the native religion there? How did you even get involved with that?
well, Sarawak was really a jungle. And then James Brooke, from Englishman James Brooke, he ran away from the army in a deserter in India. And so he went to Malaysia, to Sarawak. And he went there and they made him the Raja, the king. So we have a white king in Malaysia. And so what happened was they started getting Chinese from China. So my parents migrated from China to Sarawak, right on the island of Borneo. And then my grandfather died. So my grandmother couldn't afford to bring up her kids. She tried to sell my mother and her sister, but nobody wanted them. And then she
Ah,
heard about this Catholic orphanage. So she brought her three young children
mhm.
to my mother, the sister, and one brother, and left them at the Catholic orphanage. So the nuns brought them out.
Okay.
Yes, so that is how. And my mother was very religious, and she would tell us all the stories from the Bible, so implanted the idea of being
Yes.
nuns and priests.
Okay, I was just like, how in the heck does someone from Malaysia? I mean, in my mind, I think of all the different, I'll use the word polytheistic religions or Buddhism or maybe even Jainism, Hinduism would be there as well. How in the heck did Catholicism just get into all of those? So what was your call? I like you said that you wanted to be, from the Bible, the verse you probably heard, I want to, we are in the world, but not of it.
Yes.
So
I
what
don't
was that call? What would make a 17-year-old young woman say, I'm going to become a cloistered nun?
know. Well, not only that, I was crazy. My mother called me boy man. I was at the age where I was crazy about boys, reading
Hmm.
the Harlequin romance, and that was
Oh
that
yes, Harlequin romance. Let's give them a shout out. That was yes.
it was called Meals and Boons in Malaysia, and those two were the hardest thing I had to give up.
Mm,
I looking back, I don't know why, and I think it probably has to do with now that I'm discovering, ever since I get into this, uh, discovering that I'm a wanderer. So I believe a part of it has to do with that, where I don't feel I fit in this world and just want to, you know, I have no idea, but I just knew I have to become a nun
mm,
or and that particular monastery, they tried to talk me into going with active congregation. I said, no, I have to enter into that particular enclosed monastery.
mm, mm. So tell us what in the heck did you do as a nun? Tell us about your mystical journey. Because one of the things is that every traditional religion, so like Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhism, even though I know Buddhism is not a religion, I'm going to use it now as a word, as a philosophy. They all have that mystic, that part that really wants to say, put your books down and come and meet spirit. So do you mind sharing a bit of
Oh,
your
yes,
mystic journey?
because that's a big part of my life, actually. So, one thing I took very seriously entering into the monastery was meditation, liturgical prayer, mass, and all that. I wasn't too much caught by that, but meditation, God. So I applied myself very seriously to meditation. And then 4 years after I entered, one day we had a retreat, and I told the retreat master that I was having what we call aridity in meditation. And I described my meditation to him. And he told me, he said, sister, what you are experiencing is God is giving you the prayer of quiet. So later I found it was actually the prayer of simplicity. I'm using the category of Saint Teresa of Jesus. Prayer of simplicity, they say, is a prayer you can arrive by your own efforts, where over time in meditation, you become very comfortable. I mean, you could be there in God's presence and know God is there, and thoughts or anything doesn't really disturb. You are just engaged in God. And but prayer of quiet, according to Saint Teresa of Jesus, is a supernatural gift of prayer, which God gives to some and not to others. And she said, we don't know why, but so I was quite disturbed by that, because we were all so afraid of the sin of pride. So I remember that night going to the tabernacle, and I was in turmoil. And then I asked God, did you really give me the prayer of quiet? And I heard the words. I think that was the first time I hear the what Saint John of the Cross called locution, the inner voice. And it says, not yet, but I will. And then it happened. One day, I just felt this strong thing wanting to pull me inside. And I have been undergoing several months of dryness in prayer. So I told God, I'm sorry, but I don't know how to get inside myself anymore. I resisted for a few days, and then it just pulled me inside. And then just for 4 days, I was wrapped in that presence. I think the image I would get is like you get the feeling of being impregnated with God, like carrying this. And so for 4 days, I was like in another reality, just engrossed in this presence. And that was my journey into mysticism. So from there, I went into contemplative prayer. And so the same thing happened when I settled into prayer. I could empty my mind of everything, and I'm in this darkness. I look into that darkness and I could feel a presence there. And I know that presence is God. And after that, it was like the door to mysticism open, became wide open. Overnight, I could understand all the mystical writings of Saint Teresa of Jesus, Saint John of the Cross, and I went into all the other 14th century mystics. So that is my journey into mysticism.
You know, it is so beautiful that you talk about coming into that divine presence. And in, Teresa of Avila having that ecstatic interaction, that when, that invitation to let go of everything that this world tells you about God. When I walked away from the church, I told God, I'm walking away from you too. I said, in my heart, I know there's something better, but what these buildings are talking about you, mm-mm. But when to go into that place, to step into that divine presence, so many people talk about what, I'm oftentimes sort of slow to want to do, yes, your background is like you're sitting in the mist. Jane, the speaker, is talking about that people, I say, well, when they want to get a tarot reading, they'll say, well, what do the next 6 months hold for me? And I always say the next 6 months hold for you what you've been doing the last 6 months. You've been planting those seeds, right? But we're so disconnected that, yes, all of us, I'm not saying something bad about psychics. I also have those same gifts. So talk about being a nun. I also thought about being a nun because I have that desire, again, as Teresa of Avila, that the one thing we see that Master Teacher Jesus did, to be able to be in that presence. So every miracle that's attributed to Master Teacher Jesus, in my opinion, is because he stepped into his divinity. God's not someone outside. It's an essence. It's a presence. It's an energy. And when you step into that, what appears to be miracles on this realm is just everyday stuff. Oh, we got a whole bunch of people to feed. Okay, fine. You need a healing. Great. We need this. Great. Because why not? Love, grace, wholeness. That's the call of the divine, to come to that. And
Well,
so,
yeah, that was how I came to leave the monastery, I believe, because I reached a crisis point, and well, I could have died. I'm I'm lucky I didn't die because I think my body was trying to find a way to get out. So I became anorexic. So I went from 130 pounds to 75 pounds
oh my Lord.
with my 5 pounds of habit. So essentially, I was 70 pounds. And so after that crisis, I told the mother prioress, I just want to go home. But I have this stubbornness or something. And I felt, so I asked myself, are you going to give up just like that? And I said, no, this is just a crisis. I will fight it through. But with that crisis came my revolution. I said, I have followed strictly the old tradition, and obviously it didn't work. So I'm going to throw everything away and I'll follow everything and anything. And that really struck fear in the hearts of these older nuns. They could
Oh,
see
of
hope.
course.
So I walked that path right out of the monastery. And, in that kind of structure, you get brainwashed. They tell me if you leave, it means that you are rejecting God's path for you and choosing your own path, and you won't be safe. And I remember going to church and praying, and I came out and I said, they are wrong. God is still with me.
Yes.
I still have the same feeling, the same experience.
Indeed. And that, once you get that hook of feeling
Yes,
the presence of divine, nothing can take that away from you. And to
yes,
go into that presence, one of the things that I did when I worked in Los Angeles at Cedar Sinai, I really wanted to build my meditation practice. They had a chapel right off the area where I worked, and I would time it for 15 minutes, Monday through Friday. I would go and sit in there. And this was at the beginning. I wasn't thinking about, well, I'm sharpening up my psychic gifts or nothing. I just wanted to sit in the presence. And I'm telling you that I'm here today because that 15 minutes in that presence. I mean, like literally when my alarm would go off, I would be jolted because I was sitting in that building, I was sitting in the prayer chapel. Uh, but yes, in that presence. And when you get there, that's where the healing begins. That's where the release begins. That's where the evolution begins. That
Right now I feel listening to you, I feel very moved. And then I realize why the spirit direct me to you. You see, this story, the mystical part of my life, is my whole life. It forms me. But, I think you are the first person who shows such an interest
wait,
in this part of my life.
well, because I feel like I mean, I also practice celibacy. I'm not. That's a whole big thing, and there is a drawn to that. But also, you and I both know. I think you'll hear the clarity in this. And the other reason that we're connected is that we have served as high priestess and priest in other lifetimes together. And
Yes,
so that's that. I mean, I know for many of my lifetimes, I've been a high priest or a priestess. And I know that that's true of you. And
yes,
so it's sort of like old friends connecting, like, hey, this is awesome. I'm so glad you reached out to me.
yes.
Well, hello, Kiva. Welcome. So now let's talk about this entity that you work with.
So Rasha. So during the time of Trump, that was when I went seriously looking every day. I type psychic readers and Trump, and then I watched all the several. But it was Diane's tarot that I gravitated towards because she is not only very accurate, very sharp, but she doesn't beat around the bush. She just goes straight to the point. And then I noticed that she gave readings, so I had two readings with her. So the first reading at the end of it, she said, you come from Arcturus. And I thought, foreign. And I didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I pushed it aside. And then shortly after, she said, I channel ET. Well, my late husband was completely he saw a UFO. So he was completely into all this.
Mm.
And I used to think that he was so gullible because he believed in all these things. And here is this. So I thought, how could this psychic reader that I admire so much, who is so grounded, be channeling, believe in ET, much less channel an ET? So after a few months, I thought, okay, I have enough of this. I'm getting out. So I canceled my membership. And then I thought, but she's having a Rahasha live. So I'm going to watch this one last time. And then I will leave and I won't be back, and that way. So during the thing, I asked Rahasha a question about this force in my head. Ever since I left the monastery, I have this thing in my head. And he took my question. So that was when he told me that he said, you are going through an amazing awakening. And he said, but the interesting thing is you have awakened in other spiritual lives before, and that is very unusual because it's usually reserved for ascended masters. And he said the force in the head is the ascended masters trying to push me up one level higher. And they have confidence and hope that they know I would go up that one level higher. And so he said, you can tell them to back off. I don't tell any of them to back off because I want to go up that level. And the interesting thing is the same feeling in my head today is how I gauge the presence of, like Rahasha is always the third eye chakra pushing up towards the crown chakra. And then my spirit guide is just heavy pressure pushing down. And then Emmanuel is usually around here pushing down. And archangels usually my crown chakra gets in a tight grip and then I get tingling. So that is interesting. That the thing I wonder about for so many years is the very thing that I use to sense energy around me today.
Indeed, and I think really, I feel that being in that monastery really gave a chance. Once you stepped into that mystical presence, gave a chance for all those energies who've known you from before, be like, hey, 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 hey. And then you just had to
Ah,
get,
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
right. You were in that cloister place. They're like, hey, 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 hey. They had a chance to talk to you in your dreams. They had a chance to talk to you. And then when you stepped into that, into what you call mystical realm, I believe you stepped into a higher dimensional realm. So you were interacting from them. And then when you would come back, you would might feel tired or worn out. It's because your physical, this realm, this body gets, it's kind of like the story, if you know the story from the Old Testament, when Moses went to the mountain and he stood he was in the presence of the divine. When he came back, his face was lit up to where they had to cover him because people couldn't stand it. And it's like, yes, when you are in that divine presence, your light is shining. It's light to light, wholeness to wholeness, love to love, oneness to oneness. And then they say, okay, now you got to go back. You got to go back down to a different dimension. That energy still comes with you. That light still comes with you. And so that's what was happening. I feel
Yeah.
part of what was happening with you is that
So
your old friends. That even now, when I get with the archangels, they're like, "Girl, please, you know us." So, but I had so much fear from my traditional Christianity that I would feel these things. I had so many beautiful Shiva statues because I've worked with Lord Shiva for so many years, and I'd be like, "No, this is the devil fooling me." And then I remember throwing them all away, but wrapping them up. Right? I should have just sold them, but again, that fear. So once Catholicism and Protestantism are very good at making you feel fearful of your gifts. They
yes,
want you to have your spirituality under the auspices of their control.
yes,
Because if you really take seriously what they're talking about, getting in the presence, connecting with the divine, and doing that, they lose control of you, just like the monastery did.
yes,
You
yes,
were like, "Oh, I'm out of here."
yeah.
I don't know, there's a man who started Headspace, Andy Puddicombe, who was a Buddhist monk, and he ran away from the monastery. He escaped. Right? Because sometimes whether you're sitting in a church building, a monastery, ashram, you the once you get that taste of that sweetness and that power and that connection of the divine, and then you go back into that building and you see it with those eyes, oftentimes you're done.
Well, what's interesting is when I was a nun, I started going to this mystical state. At meditation, I will find myself being carried off to a land, to a space up above. And for me, it's just heaven on earth because it was just beautiful, a place of light. And, in that space was only God and myself. So Rahasha recently told me that was my planet that I went to. I didn't even know it, but I was, you know, every now and again in meditation, I will find myself back in that land. But I didn't even realize that.
Yes,
Anyway, so Rahasha, so what happened? So I started having session with him through Diane's tarot. And then a few months after he suggested that I channel him, my first reaction with him with everything is, oh no, I can't channel, I don't channel. And then he said, it would be helpful for you. And I thought, oh my God, this ET is asking me to channel him. I said, of course, I will channel you. So I put, when I am into something, I'm not, things that don't interest me, I just don't care. But when I'm into something, I'm single minded. So I started devoting the moment I come back from work, I will settle into 1 hour's meditation. And then when I retired, I actually put 3 hours every day because I want to get myself prepared. And I thought if I prepare myself, he would just come in and talk through me, channeling. I didn't realize it doesn't work that way. And it
correct.
took a
Correct.
long time. Yeah.
Correct. Good morning, Teresa. Yes, that when they want to work with you, they come to you in a very natural way. Now, when I was
Yes.
having my meditation, the way that the divine energies that I work with, I was sitting down in the pew, and they stood in front of me, and they talked to me, and then they basically turned around and sat down, like sat down on me, and I received that energy of them. The
Ah,
other thing is your gifts will make room for you. Like, I know that I'm a medium, but I don't want to see dead people, and I don't want people waking me up in the middle of the night. So, but when I do readings for people, oftentimes their relatives will come, and then I will speak to that. But it's so you got to work where your gifts are. So I didn't ask you this, but there's two things I would like for you to, maybe in the last 10 minutes, to lead us in a contemplative meditation. Think about it. These are all just questions. And I don't know. How is your entity? Is he wanting to take questions? Can we talk with him or her, it? I don't know the right. Tell me.
ah. So the entity, I am still practicing on channeling him. So I'm
Okay.
not like Diane could just ask question and he answers. Yeah, I'm not there yet. And he's probably saying, he told me, you have been hearing us. Every time I see him, I say, when am I going to channel you? He said, you have been hearing us. And when I started channeling him, I asked him, did I really channel you? He said, I wish you wouldn't keep asking us that, because when you call us in and you channel, that is us. So channeling, I usually, like, I do a Tuesday live, and I think that Rahasha knows me well enough to know that when I get the feeling that I'm alone, that is when, I think this too polite Chinese side of me don't like to keep people waiting. And three times already, I will suddenly think, oh my God, there's nobody in the chat room. So I can go and chant and see if I can channel Rahasha. And I did. I tried to get over that, but the last time it was the same way. you know. So yeah, I can feel him with me. So
Yes, he's very much there. He's standing behind me right now saying, yeah, now. So the funny thing is, and one of
interesting.
my other guys is like, now, Minnassa, you're not polite. But I'm like, this is my spiritual sister. She is Asian, and I know that I'm a rude American. So let me say that Rahasha has a very soft energy with me. And he's like, she can do the channeling today. And I'm like, now, brother, I know that she can do the channeling, but I'm not going to push anyone. Oh, yes. He's like, come. And
How
then I have a
amazing.
guy that I work with that's called Linka. It's my higher self. And they're
Yes.
like, so I'm going to say that if you are feeling comfortable with that,
Yes.
but they're like, now, Manasa, no, I am not going to push someone. So I will say, I know for a fact that you can do the channeling. And
Yes.
there have been a couple of times, I think they're showing me that someone had asked you a question for advice and you thought that you were giving them the answer, but you were actually channeling at that time. Because afterwards you went, how did I know that?
Ah,
That's how you knew, because they were channeling.
yes. But it's amazing. You can feel him. I can feel him. You know, it's again, with the same. So I know.
Yeah, it's a very one of the ways that part of the thing about the energy of the higher entities, that their energy feels cold. Not It's hard to describe, but so yes, he's very gently at my back, and I'm just like, dude, there's not. I get it. You pick someone who can be pushy and bossy, you pick the right person, but I'm not going to be that today. I'm going to just say that when you are ready, if you feel like he has something for you to say today, the show is yours to do that.
Yeah. I usually leave it quite to the end because like all my life, the last two lives before this, I did it like in the middle, and then, you know, because I get into such a deep state that I was like a zombie the rest of it. So the
Yes,
last one,
yes.
I made sure I did it at the end.
All right, all right. So maybe we'll give you the last 5 minutes of the show to do
Yes,
that
yes,
if you
yeah,
feel comfortable. All right. So I see all these beautiful people. Do any of you have questions for Gertrude about her life, about her mystical practice? I'm going to invite you to do that. I'm going to ask you again to hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already done that. If you don't already subscribe to this beautiful entity, this beautiful channel of light, to her uh, YouTube channel. The link is below. Plus, you can just go to Gertrude in YouTube and find her. But please subscribe and hit the notification button as well. And so, if you have any questions, I posted a question above.
yes. I see the question.
Okay, how did I lose it?
Yeah, he said,
Oh, Gertrude, have you thought of writing your journey down? Your journey is beautiful and interesting. What do you think, Gertrude? Oh, here, let me just put the question right here.
I tried writing it down a few times and it never really took off. So when I started doing my YouTube channel, I didn't know what to pause or get into it. So I did um a few videos on that entering the monastery, like my whole journey at the monastery.
Now, you said something, your habit weighed 5 pounds?
Yeah, because the nuns were so old-fashioned from Spain. Our monastery, they came from Spain to open a monastery in Malaysia. And so they have to stick to the old tradition, which means we were wearing thick wool in a tropical humid
Yeah, I
country.
was like, Jane, thank you so much for putting Gertrude's channel. So tell me, what was your habit? What was the habit made of?
So
What did you wear?
we have a top, which is the yellow thing that covers us completely. And over that we have the black belt. And then inside we have tunic, just our underwear is made of linen. And then on top of that, we have this brown habit, wool material, really heavy. And over that, we have this scapula. So a nun try it and she weigh and it weigh 5 pounds, the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think I by now I think they should have gotten rid of the woolen habit by now because a lot have changed since then.
Wow. So Jackie J just popped in and she's popping out. I'm so glad. I love her so much. I'm so glad she's here. So tell me, do you have a favorite Bible story? If your mother grew up with the Catholic in the Catholic orphanage and you were a nun, do you have a favorite Bible story?
Bible story.
Or a favorite story about one of the saints?
Uh, Boy, my head is suddenly going crazy.
What?
Apple. Oh, I can't think of any. I think the one saint that I was very attached to was Saint John of the Cross because I follow his writings on mys- mysticism.
So
Uh,
tell me, so John of the Cross is a Catholic saint, not
yes,
John from the Bible.
no, just say
Okay.
from the Bible.
No, so John of the Cross is a Catholic saint. Tell me about him.
Well, he was the founder of the Carmelite. So I come from this house Carmelite.
Oh, the
So what happened
Carmelite
was,
priest.
yes,
Okay.
Saint Teresa of Jesus decided that the order was getting very lax and she wanted to reform it. So she started this cows Carmelite, and they call it this cows, meaning they wear sandals. This cows is no shoes, so they wear sandals instead of shoes. And
Hmm.
Saint John of the Cross joined her, so he started the reform for the priests and she for. So Saint John of the Cross and Saint Teresa of Jesus, those two were the main figures in our spirituality. But the one figure I follow very closely upon was Cardinal John Henry Newman. He was a Protestant past. I don't know. Anyway, he converted to Catholicism and became a cardinal.
Hmm.
And he okay. So the part of my revolution was when I rebelled. I found myself going into. It was interesting. It was, I call it the period of illumination in my life, because it was like something shone a flashlight on subjects I should be reading about. So I read
Hmm.
everything about man, value, man's dignity, conscience, and all that. And because of all that, I got into Cardinal Newman. And Cardinal Newman actually is pretty much the precursor for Vatican II. So one thing he talked about, which I really love, is he said when God created us, he put his law into our hearts. And I thought to myself, that is how in all of us there is that yearning, that craving for God.
Hmm.
You know, when we don't have it, we try to fill it out with all kinds of things. And St. Augustine says that our hearts are restless until they rest in God.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. But if you ask me right out the top of my head, I,
Well,
I
that's fine. But so you say that. So Teresa of Jesus is she the same as Teresa of Avila?
Avila, yes,
So
yes, that's
again,
right.
in St. John, so people who were able to stand outside of their Catholicism say, hey, there's some mess happening here, right? So we're going to
Yeah,
get this straightened up. And again, that call to look at your spiritual practice with a scrutinizing eye. You know, a lot of people have a spiritual practice, but they don't practice it. You know, one of the things that when I was a pastor at church, I saw a woman and her son who hadn't been in the church in years. So it's like, oh, so glad to see you, blah, blah. And then someone told me, oh, her son's going to court. It's like, that's not how spirituality works. You don't just show, in my opinion, let me calm down. You can see I was getting ready to get all fired up about it. That's not how spirituality works. You don't come on YouTube and say, oh my God, help me, I'm having all these problems. Well, what are you doing? How are you connecting to your spirituality? That of all the amazing people, Jane is on here, Gertrude, Gerald, you know, Allie. I mean, just tons of beautiful psychics, right? We are not, the power that you see in us is within you. And so we can help guide you back to that. But don't, you know, so if you go to church and give all your power away to pastor, or you come here on YouTube and give all your power away to us, it's you're doing the same thing. The power is within you. The law of God, and the law of God, in my opinion, is the law of love. It's written in your heart. So yes, everyone has the capacity to heal them, but yes, get your medical insurance and go see your doctor once a year, right? Or whatever. So I'm not saying that, but yeah, thank you, Sweet Pea, that yes, the power, don't give your power away. And so that is what I think part of, I love St. Teresa of Avila. I love those pictures when she's in her ecstasy, that her connection with God was so powerful that it was like big orgasm, your favorite piece of candy, your favorite, what, that feeling. And that when you step into that presence, it transforms you. You know, there are a lot of people that read tarot cards. Thank you. But are you spiritually connected? There's a lot of people that are preachers, but are you spiritually connected? Have you stepped into that presence? That's how your guides and stuff got you, Gertrude. They need to get you back in a place where you could get away from the world and they could talk with you. Are you spending that time? Okay, end of sermon. I'm just saying, people want their lives to change. They want to be something different. They're up here asking us questions. The power is in you, and we can guide you and direct you and inspire you. But the God, the power, the inspiration you're seeking is within you. Ah, your guy just said, that's right.
Yeah, so recently I found my so one day, a few weeks ago, I was practicing on channeling Rahasha, and then I suddenly found myself speaking in a man's voice. So I asked Rahasha, I said, when Diane's tarot channel you, her voice doesn't change. Why is my voice changing? Anyway, at the following session I had with Rahasha, I asked him about it. He said, you began with me, but then an entity, an aspect of Jesus called Emmanuel came in,
Mm.
took over.
I heard you say Emmanuel, so I didn't, but Emmanuel again, that same concept, what the divine with us, that that ah, I'm gonna have to control myself. Gertrude, you done pushed all sorts of buttons inside of me, not in a bad way, but just I want people to live their best lives, and I just it's frustrating to me that they keep looking to give that away. Hey, Ron, and yes, all of these great people, Ron, Janet, Gertrude, me, Jamie, Gerald, trying to think, Sonia, EQ, the Soul Sisters, that all of us have this calling to guide and inspire. But the only person who can fix your life, the only person that can be your source of healing, the only person that can make that change in your life is you. Just like you said, your guide started pointing you to the books and things that you needed to read. Your body started saying, listen, you need to get out of here. And so it's sending you a message, right? That if
Yes,
we don't know how to listen to ourselves and connect with that divine presence, all the TV preachers, all the YouTube psychics, all the mystical books in the world will not make a difference. What you've got to open to ourselves.
you are so right in that because my Rahasha had been telling me that. He says, stop looking. You have been looking outside too much. Stop looking outside. Look inside.
Correct.
All the answers, everything you have is within you.
Correct. Correct. And like I said, all of us are healers, but not everyone's a medical doctor, right? So that's a different gift. And so, but you can begin that healing by saying, like one of the things I was telling my mom is that here in the South, people go to the doctor. They don't have medical insurance because many of these jobs, you're right to work, so you're lucky to work here, but they don't have a health consciousness. So at 50, they show up at the doctor having never stepped into a medical office. We can imagine what kind of mess that is, especially from having drank Coke and Pepsi every day instead of water, don't eat any vegetables, eating a bunch of meat, so the power is within us. Yes, people like, I'm a minister, I'm a priestess, I'm a nun, I'm all those things. And I know that I've come to guide and inspire and to equip people. That's what I do. I give you tools, I equip you, I point you in the right way, I walk part of the journey with you. But you have to be willing to understand that I'm just your guide. I'll give you the tools. I will lead you or point you in the right direction, but in the end, it's up to you, right? All the best medical equipment in the world, when you're having a baby, they cannot do that pushing for you, right? I can have the best kitchen and have all the most expensive chef tools and have the best food in there. But if I don't get in there and put those tools to use, it's for nothing. I feel like I'm preaching today, Gertrude.
Well, I like that. The fire in you.
You know, I want I just want people to live their best lives, and it we
Yeah.
can do it together. And
Well,
also because I know the change that Mother Gaia is wanting to do on this planet, some folks we gotta grow up spiritually, evolve spiritually. She needs us. And to be, for lack of a better word, pussyfooting around and worrying about, am I going to meet the love of my life? That is something important, but are you even working to be at that place? Or if you got to leave your damn house to meet the love of your life, right? Or you got to get out of your routine. But people, again, let me ask Ron, or let me go to Minnassa, or let me get with Gertrude, or let me get on, Sonia Rain Lee, or let me get over here. What is your insight telling you, right? Your insight told you, get out. You could still be in that monastery today,
yeah.
right? Because it was safe. right? You could have been like, oh, I don't want to embarrass my parents, but you chose to listen to you tell. I don't want to speak for you. You tell how it went.
Oh, the monastery, how I live. So at the time, I believe that if I don't fight it to the end, if I leave, I will regret it. But at the end, I just knew. Oh, so what happened was I decided to switch. I asked for a transfer to another monastery.
Mm.
Our monastery was started by the Spanish nuns, and they are very traditional. So I asked to be transferred to a French Carmelite monastery.
Mm.
A monastery in West Malaysia started by French Carmelites. So I went there. I wanted to prove that you could follow a Carmelite monastery can follow Vatican II and still be authentic. And I proved
Mm.
it. But by that time, it was too late for me because I was just too wounded. I didn't I didn't trust. Well, what happened was I went through a lot of verbal abuse
Of
in,
course you did.
in the first monastery. So when so after when dropped my when I became anorexic, I lost so much weight. So after I have three attacks where I suddenly fell to the ground and I was rolling in agony, I thought I was going to die.
Oh my gosh.
And the nurse saw it and they were alarmed. So they allowed me to go to to the hospital. I was there for 5 weeks. And when I was there, everything erupted. And I remember the Archbishop came to see me. Outside, I was very nice and polite and smiling, but inside, I was roaring like an angry tiger, ready to pounce at him. So when I went back to the monastery, I carried that tiger back with me. The nuns found they couldn't touch me. If they touched me, I would be, that the fangs would come out. And they soon learned to leave me alone. So I walked my own path. I suddenly lost my train of thoughts. Anyway,
So let me interrupt you because one of the things that Gertrude is showing is the path of the creative thinker, the path of the critical thinker, the path of someone who chooses their divinity and to live it in their humanity. People don't like that. But that is the path of the mystic, is to stand in this world and to shine the light and say, there's darkness here. You can do something about it. There's darkness here. And that's what's happening. I'm going to show. Jane wants to know, how many languages do you speak? That's true. You said French and then the Spanish nuns and
unfortunately, I never really catch on the Spanish. I can read in Spanish, but I can't speak the language. I only speak my own dialect, another dialect, Hokkien. I know a bit of Mandarin and English. English is actually my main language because I was educated in English.
you spoke it for so long.
Yeah.
So the show is almost over. And if you are willing, I'll give these last few minutes to
Okay.
Awasha, to
The
Ra'asha.
Rahasha. Be the light for the world. Be a beacon of light for the world. Let your light shine out, covering the entire world with your light of love and service to others. always choose to be of service to others. Therein is the love and the path to the infinite creator who feels your being and whom you love so much. Be brave, be courageous, go forth and proclaim your light to the world. Go forth, do not shrink back. You have the power, the energy, the strength, the will to conquer the world. Go forth and conquer the world. And this I say to all of you, beings of light. You have that light within you, that love, that energy, that strength, that vibration, that will to serve others, the will to serve everyone. You have it in you. As does this, what do we call it? Being this being here, Minnassa. She has that light, the power, the fire, the passion in her to conquer the world and to bring her goodness, her fire, and her passion to help the world. And she is a being that chooses service to others, and she is of service to others. That was why we brought you to her and have you invite yourself to her channel and her to yours to enkindle the fire, that love, that passion, the passion which is so important. The fire, the passion ignites the fire and set everything blazing. And the earth right now needs that fire and that passion to heal itself as it goes forward with this purging of the earth as it moves towards the fourth density. And that is why we are here helping humankind, why we are here urging you on this path towards the fourth density. And we end this in love and unity of the one infinite creator.
Wow. Rahasha. Wow. While you were talking, his presence was so strong. And thank you, Rahasha, for your kind words that, yes, my passion and fire. But yes, that as light workers, we are here to do something. That yes, we have our gifts, but we are here to elevate this planet. It needs us more than ever. It needs us more than ever. So I'm going to keep it to an hour. I thank each and every one of you who has come here today. For those of you who watch later, I thank you so much, Rahasha. Thank you, Gertrude. Thank you for
Thank
allowing
you.
yourself to be an instrument today.
Well, thank you
Oh,
for
thank
letting me be on your channel.
Of
And
course.
you are a beautiful soul. And I have to again, remind or say this again that when the spirit show me you, they show your eyes. The one thing that I saw very clearly were your eyes.
Well, thank you, ma'am. All right. All of you have a beautiful Saturday. As Ron is saying, stay safe, have fun, be good to yourself today. It's Self Care Saturday and Self Care Sunday. And I will see you again on Monday. My Mindful Mornings with Minnassa will be back next Saturday. I'll be here again with my wonderful guest, Shanita, who will do some sound healing. My heart's still beating from the presence of Rahasha. And so all of you have a blessed and beautiful day. I cannot thank you enough, Gertrude, for being here. And I'll see you all on Monday. Make sure you
Bye.
go to Gertrude's channel and have a beautiful day.